We are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace. Excelsior, geeks, and welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate, and in today's episode, we get super talking about all the team-ups and the dream-ups as we discuss the latest batch of Star Wars news, more info on that HBO Batman series, and lastly, we get a little mutant chocolate into our MCU peanut butter. But first, if you're joining us for the first time, this is a weekly show covering the world of film, television, gaming, toys, and collectibles, and all things geek-centric. Joining me on the show, we have the J. Jonah Juggernaut himself, Justin. And to his right, or left, or I don't know, it doesn't even matter anymore, Kang, the continuity error himself, Kevin Kevlossus Hudson.
Continuity error? Only my mom can call me that.
How have you boisterously beloved boys been?
Good, doing well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's been a minute, so
Yeah.
been watching lots of stuff and just hanging in there. Still in quarantine, so I get out to golf a lot, which is nice.
That's cool. They've opened up the golf arenas?
Yeah, I mean, it's golf arenas. Yeah, the courses are open. I mean, it's like pretty much the easiest place in the world to socially distance, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I go with my brothers or my roommate, so we're all in our little bubble of people, so... You know,
Nice.
you get out there, get some fresh air. I've taken like 15 strokes off my game this year. It's been great.
Oh, not bad. Driving around in like a golf cart and stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the only time I can drive, so I hog the cart when I'm going, that's for sure.
Nice. Very cool. Justin, how's your week been?
Good, man. Just been working. That's about it, really.
A lot of working.
Oh, yeah. A lot of working.
Well, it's good that we're still working. I'm working as well, and it's not it's not the preferred way to do this stuff, I'm sure, but at least we got jobs, so it's all good. Mm-hmm. But listen, enough about all this stuff. Let's jump into whatcha. Let's start with Justin. What you been up to, buddy?
Well, I finished Lost finally. Nice.
Finally.
Nice. Yeah. After that was right after I think our last recording. I finished it. I'm not crazy about the ending. I understand though that it is like a sideways world, but it is purgatory, and it's I don't know. It was the only way I guess they could have sent off those characters, so I get it, but I still was very interested in the island and what it meant and its purpose and bigger thing. But I don't know. It was what it was. It was lackluster, right? Like the lead up to it was so much more enjoyable, and then knowing that I was getting to the end, in the final season though, I liked the episode with Desmond and how he starts tuning in to how he's living in both places simultaneously. So that was pretty cool. I knocked off a few movies from my movies that I was embarrassed to admit I haven't seen. So I watched Rear Window, Alfred Hitchcock's movie from 1964, I believe.
How long until you fell asleep?
Oh no, it was great. It was actually quite entertaining. It felt like almost like a dark comedy, if you will.
Really?
Yeah, and I referenced the last time the Simpsons parody. It definitely doesn't end up being that he was crazy and that it wasn't true. It was true. His suspicion of the neighbor, then what they were doing, it was very much true.
Oh, really?
And the acting was really good, and they played with this idea of is it in his mind, or and he's got all these people helping him out to figure out if it's true or not.
I swear it was him. He killed her.
Kevin, did you do some of the VO for that?
No, you know it.
Yeah, he was. His acting was outstanding. What's his name again? I forgot.
It wasn't Jimmy Stewart, was it?
I think it was. But yeah, his acting was outstanding. I also watched all of The Godfathers, all three of them, 1, 2, and 3. And I got to say, I wasn't horribly unimpressed with 1. I was actually very intrigued. 2 was okay, but for people to say that it's revered as the best sequel to a movie, I don't understand it. I don't. And then Godfather 3 was just kind of wrapping up the story. So
did you feel like they did Godfather 3? Like, did you feel like after watching all 3, it felt like a cohesive trilogy? Like that was the plan from the start, or did 3 feel tacked on? Because I've heard that before.
No, it felt like it was necessary to close out his story, right? Like it is a story of one person, if you will, throughout their life, through different points of their life. Focused in obviously, the siblings, the father, whatever, right? Everyone around it, but it was. I can see why people appreciate it in terms of like its storytelling and the acting and whatnot. But yeah, I think it was a little lackluster for me. I don't know why that whole series is super, super revered as being like the ultimate movie.
I really just did not enjoy the first one to the point where I have no desire to ever watch number 2 or 3.
I didn't mind number 1.
And I just wonder if it's aged. If it's just aged a bit, like it hasn't aged so well, maybe. I don't know.
I think I had the same sort of opinion of Goodfellas after I watched it. And I think it kind of came back to what you were saying, Kevin. It just didn't age well, more or less. Another one that was on my list, but it was actually on like my honorable mentions, was The Usual Suspects. I saw Netflix threw that up, so I definitely watched that. Great cast, cool little story.
I saw that ending coming a mile away.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies where they don't believe you, right? Like if somebody's like, "Oh, I knew he was dead in The Sixth Sense," and you're you didn't, right? And that one I knew. Yeah. I knew who Kaiser Soze was from the very
all the way through. And that's why he is who he is. So but yeah, it was okay. That one was okay too. Again, another movie that like is revered as like, you got to see this movie, and like I watch it and I'm like, like again, if I watched it in 1995, like would I have had the same opinion? I don't know. No.
The best scene in that movie is when they're doing the lineup.
Oh,
and they're all just right breaking, front, laughing, right? And everything.
Yeah.
And apparently the reason is because Benicio kept ripping farts, and so they couldn't keep a straight face, and so it wasn't intended to be like a laughing scene, but they just sort of incorporated that into it. So.
Yep. I also watched Snowpiercer. Cross that off the list. Start and finish. Done.
What, the whole season?
Yeah, garbage. We can
Trash
talk about it later.
That is such an over-exaggeration.
Trash is what that was.
Wow.
I stand by that. I don't know. It started out really good, and then it just got made for TV very quickly. And
I actually think it started poorly and got better.
Really? Wow. I don't know. Yeah,
Justin, I think that's a really cold-hearted approach you've got there.
Yeah, well,
and can you and is made for TV really a critique of a TV show?
No, but I mean, like it felt like I mean, like the idea of like taking Snowpiercer, right, and adapting it. It was like it was made for TV. And I get that. It's that's what its intent was. But yeah, we won't need to get into that. But Inception I watched because it was a 10-year anniversary. Just watched that as well. Yeah. I also just finished X-Men, the entire trilogy. It's freaking great. Reliving that. It was the 20-year. Yeah.
You're talking about the original.
Great.
Yeah.
So you mean the first one is, right? Not the other two.
What are you talking about? X-Men 1 and X-Men 2.
Oh, sorry. X-Men 2 is good. Yeah. X-Men 3 though.
X-Men 3 is awful. And so the first X-Men is not very good either.
I don't mind the first X-Men. I actually think it holds up. And yeah, I think it speaks volumes of what they did for the superhero movie genre in general.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
nice.
I've been amongst work. That's what I've been doing. Not like just kind of taking in content
when you can,
whenever I can. Yeah, exactly. Because I just in terms of work, it's just nice to like not have to like to shut my brain off or do something. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's about it for me.
Kevin, what's you, bud?
Well, I too finished the first season of Snowpiercer. I don't think the show had a chance to live up to, the quality and expectations of the movie. It's certainly become a cult classic, and kind of put, Boonjong on the map, and I think my biggest question going into it was how are they going to adapt it for television? I think it's a solid 7. There's so much good TV on right now that we're kind of spoiled. And so if it isn't the best new thing going, then it kind of gets a bad rep. And I think, if this show were around 15 years ago, it would have been the craziest, most experimental out there kind of thing now, but now it's hard for something like that to stand out, I think. I think the main actor could have been better.
Really?
But I mean, I don't ever think I've liked Jennifer Connelly as much. I think she's been terrific in it, and I'm intrigued enough that I will watch season 2. So
if there's a season 2,
there'll be a season 2. I think they've been confirmed for it.
Yeah, they have confirmed it.
Yeah, I think they basically did sign for 2 years or 2 seasons right away. So
because I was gonna say, like, it's not only tough to live up to the movie, like you said, Kevin, but to Justin's point too, with the whole made for TV thing. HBO has never felt like made for TV, right? So when you're up against, HBO and we're getting these series, like this series I think was supposed to originally be on like TMT or something like that.
TNT.
Wow.
Yeah,
TNT, right? Yeah. So it's like
I think it
like,
still is. I think it's actually syndicated to both.
It is. Okay.
I think it is because I think TNT is kind of like a Netflix in the sense that it's a subscribed channel. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think that's why, because usually when they do these weekly episode sort of things, it is because it is also on TV. Right. So I don't know. We can do some further digging into that. Yeah, I think to Nate's point, it's like it's not necessarily like HBO will put a lot more into like making it feel very movie-esque, if you will, right? Where I think like this kind of at times did have that movie-esque quality, but then it just kind of very much veered into like the TV show, the typical TV show.
I mean, I just don't understand the argument. It's the TV show was a TV show and not a movie. It is a TV show, but I know what you're trying to say, but I don't know. I thought it was okay, and I thought the production quality in terms of the sets and stuff were cool. Like, I was intrigued about the different areas of the train and how they utilized those, and so I don't know. I think it was what it was. Again, it's not nearly the top of the heap when it comes to the amazing television we've been getting for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
But for a quick 42-minute just sort of shut your brain off and watch something, you could do a lot worse, in my opinion. So yeah, another show. Sarah and I one Sunday afternoon. I got home nice and early from golf, and we were having a lazy Sunday, so we binged all of Fleabag.
Oh,
yeah.
So that was, it doesn't sound good.
No, I didn't really know what to expect.
Okay.
I thought it was quite good. I thought her character was engaging, and I liked her imperfections sort of defined who she was, and she was quite quirky. And
did you find her hard to like because I tried watching the first episode of it and I didn't like her.
Oh no, I love her. I love people like that, man. I hate your prissy perfect people. She has no problem ripping a toot or cursing at you, or she's the imperfect sort of just everybody, and I liked that. And then I also really really like Andrew Scott, who plays the priest.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's so good. I've liked him ever since Sherlock. So anytime I see him, and he's really fun and quirky himself.
Nice.
All I can say is the Fox. The Fox. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. So yeah, we enjoyed that one. I also like Brett Gelman. He's such a skis bag in everything he does. So so I thought the cast was interesting, and I mean, there's not a whole lot going on, but sometimes simple and just very everyday life kind of works, and especially because it was so quick. I mean, again, we watched it in about 8 hours, I think.
Yeah.
The whole show. So, and
is it only the one season?
I think it's 2 seasons of like 6 episodes each, and they're like 25 minutes long. So
right, yeah.
Again, it was probably 6. It was actually closer to like 6 hours. So an easy little show to binge through on a lazy afternoon, and just sort of get your fix that way. Nice. Then Sarah and I also started Ozark, so we are almost done season 2 of that. So that's our new show. I think the one thing I'm struggling with in terms of Ozark is I'm watching it way too closely to Breaking Bad. In that there are a lot of similarities between the shows. I mean, tonally, I think they're quite different. Like Ozark is just like Breaking Bad, but 10 times darker. But I love Jason Bateman. For him to be playing his like typical straight man, but instead of in a comedy, now he's doing it in this like dark, horrific, violent world. It's such a cool twist on his usual character. And I think he does a great job of directing as well. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, I find the family in Ozark so much more likable than in Breaking Bad. Like by the end of Breaking Bad, I was like, okay, am I going to care about them? And I really didn't care about any of them. But with this, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Laura Linney's wonderful, and I think she her and Skylar kind of are on the same trajectory in that they get forced into this world and then have to accept it and become it. And Laura Linney is just so much more believable at it, and you're rooting for her a lot more than I ever did for Skylar. And then the kids, they both are, kind of jerks and have their own problems, but you never want them to just shut up and get off the screen like you did with Walter White's kids. And then even the bad guys, I find, I'm in season 2 again. I don't want to give too much away, but the bad guys, can't think of their names right now, but the hillbilly opium growers, I find them so much more menacing than I ever did Gus, So I think this is like Breaking Bad, but better in my opinion. And I can understand I would get a lot of flack for it.
Right into the show if you want to.
But that's just my opinion on that one. So I'm glad we finally took the 100 recommendations from people that we got to watch it. I don't think Sarah's liking it as much as me, but that's fine. We watched a couple documentaries on HBO. One was called Showbiz Kids. And so it's kind of looking at child actors and the effects of getting into the industry at such a young age. And then now you look at how Me Too is changing the way people are treated, but these kids didn't have that luxury. In the men and the women as young children either saw it or experienced that kind of abuse firsthand, and then you get the showbiz parents who are forcing their kids, and watching other friends who were young kids die from drug overdoses and stuff. So it really is a horrific world when you think about what these kids sort of go through, and it's that's the price of fame. Is it really worth it, right? So
right, and this is on HBO.
Yeah, it was an HBO. It was an HBO doc. They actually played them back to back, so we recorded it and then just watched them. The other one was called After Truth, and it was basically looking at fake news and how that's basically overrun the media cycle these days. And I mean, I'm sure a right-wing viewer of that show would have found it incredibly one-sided and biased. But right. I mean, I think its point was to expose the one-sided bias of fake news that comes out from the right side. And I mean, I'm a lefty, so it was probably catered right to me. And, on these issues, you're never going to change somebody's mind. If you lean left, you're always going to lean left. If you lean right, you know what I mean? But
for sure.
Just crazy to think that it all basically started with this little pizza joint in Washington getting tied to Hillary Clinton and sex trafficking. And, and because Reddit forums and 4chan started saying these things enough, people believed that this perfectly innocent little pizza joint was actually running a sex trafficking ring from the basement, and Hillary Clinton was the head honcho. It's just nuts. Yeah. So that it was a frustrating watch, that one, just to see, and how they're manipulating the social media world to persuade people to vote and everything like that. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy what's out there right now. Do your research. Don't believe what you read on Facebook. There are sources that can help you learn the truth, folks. So go out and find them. Don't just believe everything you see and read, because the lies are rampant.
Well, and I think that's kind of such an important message, right? Is the idea of saying, don't read one story and that's it. Read a bunch of stories, and even for, and this is so much less of a situation. I mean, you were talking about Hollywood. I'm reading stuff on Variety. I'm reading stuff on The Hollywood Reporter. I'm reading stuff on IGN, and I try to find, usually when they quote a source, I try to find that original source. There's a story in the news that we have today that the original source is, it's just it was heard from that person. So it's tough, right? When you can't find it, but yeah, definitely read more than one thing. Don't just take things for granted that way.
Yeah. So
cool.
Awesome. And then the last thing I've been doing, I haven't played as much this week as last, but I'm about halfway through The Last of Us.
Yes. Oh, that makes me so happy, Kevin.
Oh, and I'm in.
Yes. Good. Okay, that's so cool. And have you've obviously been playing with the lights on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have time at night just because that's when Sarah's done work and we do our, we eat dinner and watch TV, or play a board game, right? So, I'll usually find time on like a Saturday afternoon or, 5 o'clock when I'm done work, I'll slap it on for an hour or so and play. I gotta say, again, I don't game a lot, so I'm sure that this isn't a revolutionary system or something that isn't common in other games of its type, but the upgrade system and just the whole way that collecting your weapons and upgrading them, I think it's so fun and so it makes that sort of open every cupboard, open every drawer, look behind every door aspect of the game so worth it and satisfying. Mm-hmm. And it's also a nice break from, being trapped in the basement of a hotel that's flooded and, and something bad's going to happen. So I like those sort of breaks,
You'll be happy to know that it gets even better in the sequel. And I think the cool thing about that system, both in the first one and I think even more in the second one, is it forces you to use all the weapons. Normally when you get into a game like that, you're like, okay, I'm going to stick to the shotgun or I'm going to stick to...
You pick your favorite and go from there, but different situations require different approaches and So cool. and even the stealth and everything, I'm into it and...
Good.
And
I'm so stoked
it's a lot of fun. So I don't know if I'm going to finish soon or how quickly I'll jump in. I might even wait for Last of Us 2 to drop in price just a bit, but it'll certainly get played at some point.
Cool.
Yeah, but that's all for me. Nate, whatcha, bud?
Dude, whatcha? Well, man, you guys certainly watched quite a bit. I didn't watch it as much. I went away for about a week to be with my parents in Muskoka. We originally, my mom and I and Kevin, your mom and your brother, we originally had plans to go to, as you know, Disneyland in August. But with everything happening in the world, of course, not happening anymore. And even if it could, I don't think we should. So we canceled that. So I decided to kind of shift that vacation time and. It was lovely, campfire, roasting marshmallows, you go to bed with that sort of fire smell, in your nostrils. I love it. It's so comfortable and it really screams summer to me. But, in our downtime, we did get to watching some stuff, continuing watching Modern Family. I've got my mom hooked now, so she's going back and she's going to be watching all of that stuff. I'm almost done season 11 now of it, and it's really good. It's getting better. And I think season 11...
Getting better, eh?
I think so, yeah.
Really?
I don't know. I feel like at least these past couple seasons, and then with season 11, I can tell that they've increased the... It seems like they've increased the budget or something, or they knew that it was their last season, so obviously they're gonna try and make it... I don't know, the way it's shot looks a little bit cleaner. Maybe it's just because it's more recent. I don't know. But I've been really digging it. I rewatched Coco with my parents.
I still haven't seen it.
Really? Oh, yeah. Kevin. Oh, it's so good, and obviously so many tears. And I ultimately watched it to try and see how they would react. And of course, my dad was like, he didn't even know who Coco was at the end of it. He thought it was a different character. He thought it was the main character, but it's not. And so, but no, honestly they loved it so much, and it's Pixar. It's always going to be fantastic. Rewatched Jojo Rabbit as well.
Oh boy.
And
you've just been having a cry fest, eh?
Dude, it was a good cry fest. It's so funny. I don't think my parents will ever let me pick the movie ever again. But no, yeah, it's funny. I asked my mom about it, and she's like, well, I would have changed, I'm not going to spoil it, but she would have changed a certain aspect about the movie, and it would have just been a really happy ending for everyone. But I was like, that's not how that goes.
So there would have been no shoe tying, in other words.
Let's say that. Yes, there would have been no shoe tying. Absolutely. And so really, really fantastic.
I don't know if I told you. Sarah and I, when we watched that, I actually cried.
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear.
For the rock of a person that I am, for the stone. Yeah, they dripped some water out of me on that one. That was just heartbreaking. So. Yeah, I thought I'd pass that along.
And I thought it comes out of nowhere. He sees that butterfly, and that sort of gives you a little bit of information.
Sees the shoes,
yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna cry right now. Let's stop talking about it. Okay. I also started rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender. That show on social media seems to be getting a resurgence. for whatever reason, and so I've really been digging it. I love that show so much. It's only 3 seasons, 20 minutes an episode. There's quite a few episodes though. I'm telling you guys, watch it. Just trust me. I know you're not an animation person. Just try your best. For me, at least the first few episodes. I finished Uncharted Lost Legacy on stream, and that DLC was awesome. Like, obviously, take a break from Uncharted because I know you guys have been doing all the Uncharteds. But coming back to Lost Legacy, like, Naughty Dog, it's just they know how to make phenomenal games, and this DLC it's just a really nice treat. And it's actually a little longer than I expected. Have you guys ever looked into Lost Legacy?
I know it exists, but again, I haven't even finished the series itself yet. I'm still on 3.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I mean, if I ever get a hankering to climb a whole bunch of stuff, I will definitely slap that on.
Yeah, hold A and or keep tapping A and hold up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, and then last couple things, I watched Hamilton for the first time. Have you guys ever seen Hamilton?
You got some money. I'm just trying to figure out how much you'd have to pay me to sit down and watch that one. Lin-Manuel Miranda. Woo!
Oh yeah, and you don't like that guy at all. Dude, I gotta say, like, no matter what you think of musicals or anything, like, the amount of talent in that production it was dumbfounding. Like, it's insane just how good all these people were at doing what they were doing. And I don't know if that was I don't think it was their first performance, but they just knocked it out of the park. It's really good. It's cool how they portray it. Lin-Manuel says, like, it's America then portrayed by America now. And I think that's kind of a really cool way to go about doing it. And I think it was cool to kind of get people interested in history. I want to look into it. Featuring the first sex scandal in American politics was like, wow, like, to think that, like, you don't think about that sort of thing happening with people that wear white powdery wigs and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was really, really good. And finally, this is one that I think you guys need to watch as soon as you can get your hands on it. It's not available on Canadian Netflix yet, so I had to find it through other means, but Palm Springs. Palm Springs is probably my favorite film of the year so far, and it's definitely a huge surprise. It's really delightful. It's starring Andy Samberg, Kristen Milotti, and J. Jonah Jameson himself, J.K. Simmons. And, dude, like, have you guys ever had that? Have you ever had a movie that comes along and sort of out of nowhere you didn't know even existed, and then it's just so phenomenal? Like, have you ever had that sort of surprise like that?
Yeah, those are always the best, where you haven't seen a trailer, you don't even know who's in it, sort of thing. Yeah, it's always fun to stumble on something that you end up really enjoying.
Dude, it's so delightful. Andy Samberg probably does the best job that I've ever seen him do. It doesn't feel like a Lonely Island movie, even though it is. Kristen Milotti is perfect in it. And, like, I won't spoil anything, but essentially, if an episode, like, imagine an episode of Twilight Zone, but really nice and combined with, like, a burrito, a beer, and a warm hug. And that is what my review is of the movie. You just got to check it out. Honestly, it was phenomenal.
I honestly hadn't heard of this myself. So, I mean, Hulu isn't the most easy thing to access up here, but if I can stumble upon it somehow,
I might be able to find a way for you to stumble upon it.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Well, guys, that was our Whatcha. We had a ton to get through for Whatcha, which means that we don't have as much for news. We've got 2 news stories coming up, so let's get into the news.
It's all about the details.
First news story of 2, Star Wars The Bad Batch, an all-new animated series to debut on Disney Plus in 2021. This is in a press release directly from Lucasfilm today, or a few days ago if you're listening to this now. Disney Plus ordered its next animated series from Lucasfilm, Star Wars: The Bad Batch, fresh off the critically acclaimed series finale of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. The Disney Plus original series will premiere on the streaming service in 2021. Follows the elite and experimental clones of the Bad Batch, first introduced in that last season of Clone Wars, and as they find their way in a rapidly changing galaxy in the immediate aftermath of the Clone Wars. So, guys, what do you think about the Clone Wars? I'm personally stoked. I thought I think they were honestly the best part of that final season. But Justin, we'll start with you. What do you think?
I would agree. I think the introduction of these guys was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, and just like how they're a batch of like rejects, like rejected clones that have defects, and you know they've become this like black ops stealth group, right? And you know they run like very, very dark missions, right? Like, based on how they describe it. So it's cool, right? Like it's interesting, and they don't all look like the clone, right? Like they all have like these weird like features. That's probably one of the reasons why they're considered defective. But yeah, it's I'm glad to see that they can, at least they're going to do something with those characters, because it's a shame, you know, you introduce them episode 1 of this, you know, series finale is what you've dubbed this, like Clone Wars series finale, and you feature them in 4 episodes, and you know you want to learn a little bit more about them, right? So they were cool. I think that it's cool that they're doing some more stuff with these characters.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like I hope it's going to be a short sort of series, right? Like I totally agree with you in the sense that like 4 episodes was not enough, but if they had introduced these guys in the second last season and we got like a whole season and a half with them, we probably wouldn't be as stoked about this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of cool. Kevin, what do you think about the Bad Batch? Did you enjoy them in the last season?
I don't watch that stuff. So my reaction is, woohoo, more prequel animated Star Wars. All right. Just what I need. More stories about inconsequential characters who have no role to play in the overall scheme of things. And I know that because they're not there by episode 4. I'm tired of this prequel crap. Tell me new stories in different parts of this galaxy. So I have zero interest. I just could not care less about this stuff.
But Kevin, I mean, you are going to get with this, it sounds like with this series, you are going to get a moment in time that we haven't seen from Star Wars with characters that are new. I mean, isn't that essentially what you're asking for?
They're not new. They're all taking place amongst characters we're familiar with in a story we already know how it resolves and everything. Snorefest for me. Like I thought they were supposed to be giving us new stories and new places with new characters, and you know, just new clones isn't new and different enough, if you ask me.
Yeah, I completely hear you, Kevin. Like I want to. It's a big galaxy. Let's get away from the Skywalkers and everything they've touched. But I just found the camaraderie so fantastic. I think, you know, if they were saying this is their new main thing, but it's not. It's a side story, so I think as a Star Wars fan, we can live with it, right?
That's perfectly fine for the fans of it who like that stuff and have liked those stories and whatever. But just for me, like you said, I want out of the Skywalker part of the galaxy and that timeline, and you know, I don't know. I just think you're treading water at this point with all that stuff.
And I mean, even now they've got the plans to go back with the new novel series, and they're going, you know, even further back into like the old Republic. You know, it is one of those things where it's like, do you go further in the future? Do you go farther away? Like, what would your dream sort of story be, I guess, in terms of Star Wars? Like, where do you want it to go? Where do you want to see it?
I mean, I'm probably not the right person to ask. I don't know if I need it to go anywhere. I mean, I think I've maybe just I've had my Star Wars. I've had my 80 years of an epic story, and I'm just ready. I don't know. I'm not a big sci-fi guy to begin with, so you know, while you know, I think they need to move away from the Skywalkers to breathe new life into the franchise in general. I just don't know if I'm the right person to ask, because I don't know if I'll care about any new thing or new characters or new story as much as I already have about the one.
Right.
You know, so and then I think if you do move too far away, then it's just space stories and stuff. You know what I mean? So if there isn't even that tie to the Skywalkers, then is it really Star Wars or is it just sci-fi? Right.
Right.
So I don't know. I just don't think I personally need anything else in space, Star Wars-y, whatever. So again, I'm the worst person to ask as it relates to that.
I think you're right. Like Star Wars is so, unified with the idea of Skywalkers. You can't have one without the other, right? And like the history that they're going to probably tell is going to affect what would have happened in the Skywalker saga if they were to do stories before. But if they do stories after, it's the ramifications of everything that has happened from the Skywalkers. So, there's always going to be something from some part of the story that we've already seen that's going to find its way into these Star Wars canon things. And I think people will want or do want to see aspects of it but told in new ways, right? And taking to different parts, right? I think The Mandalorian is probably one of the best examples of taking it in a new direction, and especially just how you're consuming it, right? It's not a movie, it's a TV show, right? So it doesn't have this grandeur of it having to be a movie. It's able to take more leeway with its story through, episodic narrative. So I think that's really the future for Star Wars is episodic content. It's not necessarily movies.
But I mean, we've been talking about, even just talking about our watches, like Kevin, you mentioned Ozark and the amount of story progression and character building that they can do with a TV show. You're right, Justin, compared to a movie series. Like, I definitely think that we're going to get stories where we see way more character progression than any of the characters we've seen in the movies. If we get a nice long, 8-season show. I mean, it's tough to tell right now with Mandalorian, but, it would be interesting to see it go that way. And, I say 8 seasons, and meanwhile, we're all also kind of talking a little bit about being a little Star Wars'd out or Star Wars fatigue, as it were. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes. And 2021, we'll see what else is in our geekosphere at that point. Speaking of what else might be in our geekosphere, next news story: the Batman spin-off TV show will be set before the Robert Pattinson movie. This is in an article from...
prequels! Woo!
Right, more prequels. This is in an article from Screen Rant, written by Cooper Hood. Instead of the untitled Gotham PD series picking up after the events of the Batman, a new piece of information from Variety reporter Justin Kroll says otherwise. Kroll tweeted that he's heard the series will be set before Pattinson's solo movie. When the series was announced, the press noted that the show will build upon the motion picture's examination of the anatomy of the corruption in Gotham City. According to Kroll, this will be done by showing how Gotham became corrupt and infested with criminals in the first place. So as a result of this, we'll get stories maybe that kind of show the rise of maybe Commissioner Gordon. Maybe we will get Jeffrey Wright onto the show. I certainly would love that, and he's pretty used to being in an HBO show at this point. It's going to be helmed by Matt Reeves and Terrence Winter for HBO Max. Guys, what do you think this means for both the Matt Reeves The Batman movie, and also what would you want to see from a Gotham PD story, given that we've already had quite a few representations of that? Kevin, what do you think? I know you're not for prequels, but you go first.
Yeah, this does nothing for me. I don't know.
No.
When it's a show set before a movie, then there's no danger for any of the characters, and if there's no danger, then there's no intrigue, in my opinion. So I don't always need to know where somebody came from and what traffic ticket they got that changed their life and inspired their decisions, So yeah. I'm perfectly fine with Gotham as a crap hole with crime and corruption. I don't need to see it crumble to that. That's I'm never a big fan of prequels. So
do you think that they could do it? I mean, kind of to what Justin was saying about Star Wars, like, do you think they could show it in a different light that maybe we haven't seen before? I know there's been a ton of iterations of Gotham over the years, but do you think there's a different light that could maybe surprise you, especially given that it's HBO and they're going to get behind it?
Well, you keep saying HBO, right? Like it's Time Warner, right? And it's all just
Right.
Warner Brothers. So
I
like
guess,
it's all
yeah.
branded as HBO. I think if they're going to bring in HBO components, like it's a crime show, like could you imagine a True Detective meets Gotham City? Like that'd be pretty cool. Like murders, like
down.
actual gory murders, and like, you know, really give like the way Gotham PD could really be effective as a show is really breathing life into what Gotham is, right? And what that interpretation of Gotham is to look like, right? And you know, I think Jeffrey Wright went on the record of saying, like, you know, this movie by Matt Reeves isn't a continuation of Nolan's darkness. It's a new darkness, and it's in some ways it's darker. So, you know, hearing that and having that in mind, and then also thinking that, you know, he's behind this idea of the show, I feel like the intent with a show like this is to just give more background to Gotham and where they are specifically, and also the tonality of what they want in terms of that. Could be interesting, right? I didn't like the WB version of
No.
Gotham or whatever it was. It was absolute trash. I could not get into it. And so, yeah, like I just think that I'd be far more interesting to see if there's a way that they can integrate the crime aspect and then sort of hint at some of these villains, if you will, that are there, but really, you know, maybe keep it more grounded on the crimes and, you know, where they lead to, kind of thing.
And is Batman going to be in it?
No.
Not confirmed, yeah, and I don't think so. I couldn't see Robert Pattinson. I mean, maybe in an episode or maybe in a scene, but I couldn't see them going that far with it. But you know, I think that's a really cool idea. I know, Kevin, you're not a big fan of the Joker, but, you know, Justin, you mentioning that comment by Jeffrey Wright saying, you know, it's going to be darker than Nolan, it makes me kind of feel like, could it be possible that we get almost like the Joker tone
Right.
in this show?
It
Is
could
that
definitely.
possible to do? Yeah.
It could definitely go that way, but I also think that they don't want to necessarily get too tied to this idea of things all linking together, but
Right.
rather than, like, maybe to your point, a tonality element that bleeds through, that kind of like links them together, right?
Yep.
Rather than necessarily saying that, you know, Batman takes place in the same time or world of Gotham as the Joker, right? Kind of thing, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but obviously, with
but
the
then
show-
it's just more DC nonsense then. It's 18 different variations of the same stories taking place in different universes that have no connection, and then it's why even call it Gotham?
I think it's tough to take the comic book sensibility of having different series of comic books and translate that to film and television.
Absolutely.
I think it's just really difficult to do. So I mean, I do blame them, but I also wouldn't want to be in Warner's shoes as they try to sort of say, like, look at the success of the Marvel universe. Let's try that. That didn't work. Okay, let's go back to what we were doing before. That doesn't work. And I just feel like it's going to be really, really tough for them to kind of create that succinct sort of universe.
I just think this is I mean, when you talk about the Batman, it's the third iteration of Batman that we've gotten since 2012.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And in those 8 to 10 years, you know, we've only had one Iron Man, and you know, even though there's very little connection between the Netflix Marvel shows, you know, they still in those shows reference the New York incident.
right.
Yeah.
And we haven't had a different character playing a different version of, say, Daredevil show up in the movies.
Right.
That is their Daredevil, and whether we ever see him in a movie, I don't think we ever will. I think that's the only time that character will exist in the current iteration of the MCU. Instead of, like, now is this Robert Pattinson Batman going to be related to the Justice League movies they're still doing?
No.
You know, okay, so like it's just a
Yeah.
mess. It's hard for me to care.
Yeah.
I still think the Batman's going to be cool, but
Yeah. Let's we could talk about this stuff forever. And instead of talking about what will be far away, let's talk about some things that are coming up very soon as we move into trailer time.
It's trailer time.
All right, so let's go ahead and dive into trailer time. We've got some misfit group sort of team dynamic trailers that we want to talk about, superhero trailers we want to talk about, all coming to streaming services actually pretty soon. Let's start off with our first trailer here, The Umbrella Academy Season 2. Of course, this series is adapted from a comic book series by My Chemical Romance's Gerard Way, as well as Gabriel Ba, and they did a comic book series not too long ago that turned into Season 1, and now Season 2 sees our Hargrave family returning for what looks like yet another apocalypse again. The show is going to be back to Netflix pretty soon, July 31st. Guys, what are your thoughts on the trailer, and have either of you seen anything from The Umbrella Academy?
I personally have not, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it has a fun tone to it. The characters and their powers seem interesting. I mean, you can only get so different with them, but, you know, they seem like fun variations of classic characters and stuff like that. I don't know if I hadn't seen anything for either show, I wouldn't know which was The Boys and which was Umbrella Academy,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, they are. I mean, when we start getting into these, both of them being released around the same time, both of them being related to superheroes.
They're probably each other's competition, right? Like for like superhero dynamic, right?
I mean,
streaming service platforms.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, the Umbrella Academy isn't the same sort of vulgar, violent, gory
To a certain degree,
as The Boys.
No, it's Umbrella Academy goes way more weird, where The Boys goes way more dark, I think is kind of the way to think about it.
Yeah.
So like the Umbrella Academy, you know, it still gets, there's still harrowing moments. You still get, you know, heart pumping action and touching moments as well. But it is more along the lines of like, you can tell it's done by Gerard Way. Like you can tell that it's like this really almost what seems like it could have been a song, the way that it's written, with some of the crazy aspects to it. But like it is just that. It's a lot of fun. But I don't know, like this new season, the only thing that I've noticed and I've been reading online is just, you know, sort of spoilers for the first one, but you kind of get it from the very first episode of the first one. It revolves around sort of a coming apocalypse. And this new Season 2 seems to be doing the exact same thing. So it's interesting. I think they're doing that to throw us off. I hope. But we'll have to wait and see.
Interesting. Yeah, because is there time travel in this story?
Yes.
There? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think if anything, you guys should give it a shot just because of how different the characters are. They are different variations of other characters from, you know, we're going to be talking about the X-Men coming up and you know, even the Boys and stuff like that, these superhero team-ups, but they do it in such a way that's so different that at first you're sort of taken aback by it, and then you grow to love them, which is pretty cool from what I found. Yeah. So cool. That is, again, that's coming out very soon on the 31st of July. Next up, The Boys Season 2. We just talked about it. This is from creators Eric Kripke, Evan Goldberg, and, of course, Seth Rogen, who's Justin's favorite movie maker. We've got Carl Urban, Jack Quaid, Anthony Starr, Laz Alonso, and Aaron Moriarty, with newcomer to the series, Aya Cash. And, of course, he's in everything. Giancarlo Esposito shows up as a more prominent figure in Season 2.
Is he in Season 1?
He's in Season 1 for a very brief moment. Yeah,
because I realized I'm about 4 episodes in, so I'm about halfway through Season 1. I watched it. Well, no, I watched it back in like September of last year, and then just got busy with stuff and you know, had a wedding to plan and whatnot, and just got distracted to the point where I never finished. I could see going back and maybe Sarah and I giving it a run through and then seeing if we like it and stuff. I liked elements of it.
Yeah.
I'm just superheroed out, man.
But that's the beauty of this show is it turns that upside down. Like, yes, it's still revolving around superheroes, but the heroes of the show are the people that are hunting them. It's not the actual superheroes. The superheroes are awful people, and it's really cool to see how the world sort of merchandises them to kind of parallel what we get in our world with merchandise, but they're all very awful people because at the end of the day, you give people a lot of power, as we can see in our real world, and they're not good. They're awful most of the time.
Sure, it's a variation, but I mean, paint a turd to look like a rock. It's still a turd, right?
Sure.
You know, it's just another superhero show. And it's certainly more enjoyable than any of that CW crap. Superhero shows have come a long way in the last 15 years when you compare it to things like The Flash and Arrow and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's like... And was The Boys based on a comic series as well?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, like...
I don't remember.
There are a lot of other kinds of comic series, which I think lends itself to the television format very well.
Yeah.
They don't always have to be about superheroes. Look at
Correct,
how successful, and at least in the beginning, good The Walking Dead was. And it was a comic book series perfectly tailored to be translated to TV. And I think there's just so many genres and types of comic books that could lend themselves to become good television shows. I mean, I'm not a comics reader, so I couldn't give you any examples, but I was a reader of The Walking Dead before it became a TV show. And it was... So, it was so different than just every other superhero iteration that we're getting on our big and small screens. And I can't watch superheroes every time I go to the theaters and every time I turn on my television. It's superhero this and superhero that,
Yeah, I mean, there's, I think one of the examples that I would give, and granted, I've only read a few issues of it, but is Saga. There's a show called, or a comic book called Saga that falls very much into those really weird things that we see from Umbrella Academy, but it also focuses a little bit more on futuristic but also fantasy-based characters, which, like, that's from a TV standpoint. I know we got that Lord of the Rings show coming up, but from a TV standpoint, we don't really get a ton of that fantasy-based stuff, right? So
no, at least not done well. Yeah, so that'd be so different and refreshing, I think.
Yeah.
So that would just be my stance on. I know we're doing a superhero movie, or a themed episode, so it makes a lot of sense to talk about these things. I just find it hard to get excited about another quirky team of superheroes when we already have so much of it.
Right. Yeah. More of this burnout that we've been talking about. Justin, are you burned out, or you think you'd binge? You think you might go back and binge The Boys?
I've heard good things about it in the sense that it is, as you were saying, Nate, it's a bit of a upside down look at the idea of superheroes and their iconography and what they serve in society and stuff like that. I feel like it's almost like a different adaptation of something like Watchmen. It kind of feels like it could be.
Yeah, it's very modernized Watchmen.
Yeah, so like again, not having seen anything, and so I can't really talk to or will comment on what the show is like, or for whatever reason, right? How it is, but based on what I have seen of it, it does look like it would be enjoyable. I'm interested to see. I'll just have to take the time to watch season 1. And
I mean, it's only 8 episodes, so you could probably get through it in 6.5 hours.
I think you're really gonna love it. I do. I honestly do. But
I probably will. I just don't. I haven't just. It's one of the things I just haven't sat down to say, okay, I'm gonna watch this.
Cool. Well, hopefully we all can sit down and watch it very soon. Again, that comes out September 4th on Amazon Prime. Yeah. All right, our last trailer here. Really quickly, this dropped very recently on I think it's going to be coming out on Netflix on August 14th. This is Project Power, directed by Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Jamie Foxx, Machine Gun Kelly, and Amy Landecker. The quick pitch for this: when a pill that gives its users unpredictable superpowers for 5 minutes hits the streets of New Orleans, a teenage dealer and a local cop must team with an ex-soldier to take down the group responsible for its creation. Kevin, did this trailer do anything for you?
This looks like Limitless meets Bloodshot. It just... I don't think it looks very good, personally.
No, I think it looks like hot trash.
Yeah, it looks pretty hokey. It looks this looks like it's gonna get a nice 33 on Metacritic.
For sure. Yeah. I just feel bad for Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I like him. I just wish
so
he wouldn't
good in
tie
everything
his
he
name.
does.
Yeah, I wish he wouldn't tie his name to this awful atrocity of a film. But yeah, it looks like a ripoff of Limitless with a whole lot of bloodshot crap, and it
reminded me. The trailer reminded me of, what was the other Netflix thing they did with Will Smith, and it was a fantasy-based thing that didn't work.
Bright.
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 That was great. I liked that. Did you guys
Really?
watch
You
it?
like that?
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Oh my God! Somebody should tell Netflix somebody liked it. I know. I can't believe it.
You know what? It's weird. I started watching Bright. I stopped for it sort of froze for a few minutes. It said, "Justin, are you still watching?" And I was like, "No."
I actually
But,
liked it. It was a David Ayer who also did Suicide Squad, and as we've talked about, his interpretation of Suicide Squad was a little muddled by the studio, so he's now yammering for an Ayer cut or of his Suicide Squad where he can actually put out the movie that he wanted. But after Suicide Squad, he did that film, and I wanted to see how it was going to turn out because he also did End of Watch. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I don't think it was horrible. I didn't mind it. So talking about fresh takes and different approaches on the typical sort of stuff, I thought that was fairly, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was race relations with ogres and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Essentially,
I think Onward did it better, but
I think it looks. Yeah. I mean, for that one in particular, I think it was a cool premise. It just looked really cheesy.
I think Project Power also looks really cheesy, and you know that a movie trailer didn't really hit home when we spend the time that we're supposed to be talking about all the other movies. So let's move on. That's coming out August 14th if you guys want to take a look at it. But guys, that's it for trailer time. We've gotten through the news. I think it's time now to move on to our topic of the show. All right, so with the recent 20th anniversary of the first X-Men film, and with the recent reports of Janelle Monáe wanting to portray Storm, that got us thinking, how would we like to see the X-Men introduced into the MCU? So we have our cast of mutants, we have our directors, and we each have a pitch for how we would like to get our lovable team of specialized humans into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So for this one, we can, if you guys want, we can kind of go each of us. Justin, you could go, then me, and then Kev Losses himself, if you want to round it off.
You know what? You know what? I'll take over and I'll go first.
Are you sure?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. As long as,
Let's do
listen, I am expecting from Justin, based off our Friends Total Recast, I am expecting all the mutants to be Swedish, and I want this to be a dramedy about the X people. I think would be fantastic. But no, yeah, go ahead. Kevin, let's hear your pitch for how we get these mutants into the MCU.
All right. I think the trickiest thing about doing this is that, there are 7 existing X-Men movies that are relatively fresh in our minds in the sense that, the most recent of that connected series came out just last year. So... Right. That franchise, even though they tried to shift it up with time changes and going back in time to show existing characters and their younger selves, and then there was crossovers of all of them and everything, you still had threads that linked them all together, namely being Wolverine and Hugh Jackman.
Right.
And I think that the only way to do this and not make it feel very DC-esque is to completely reboot it. No element of that existing X-Men franchise. So the Fox X-Men are gone forever. You don't carry a single thread of it over, just to sort of keep it fresh. And
right.
I think that's really tough because one thing that Marvel does so well is work off of the existing comics and bring those stories to the big screen in a way that satisfies even the most hardcore fan.
Yeah, that's tough.
And
I mean, we've even been talking about like how are they going to move on with Star Wars? How are they going to do Batman prequels? And we're all kind of complaining about it. So I could imagine.
It's. I just think it's such a difficult task that they have, and I think that one of the things they have to avoid would be just taking the comic book inspiration. And so that would be things like Magneto being a child during the Holocaust and those sorts of things. And I think it's going to be really tough for them to explain how these mutants have existed for all of that time without becoming, plus that starts making your characters 80, 90 years old, right? Which I don't know if that's the smartest thing to do in terms of bringing them into this, 20 plus movie universe. Anyways, long ramble short, I am taking elements of these origin stories for these characters and bringing them into the 21st century and modernizing them. In fact, I'm modernizing it to the fact that mutants only started to exist when Thanos' original snap takes place.
Cool.
So, the mutant gene is in humans. It's in certain humans, and it has been lying dormant in humans for Lord knows how long. But it wasn't until the snap of the Infinity Stones that these genes are triggered. And now, all of a sudden, while people like the Avengers are dealing with the consequence of the snap and trying to get people back and trying to thwart Thanos and undo it, two brilliant friends have discovered that they themselves have developed mutant powers, and so have people around the world.
Oh, this is good.
The problem is these friends have very different opinions of what should be done about it. While one thinks these people should be recruited and trained, almost taught what to do with their powers and how to use them appropriately, the other friend is far more pessimistic about the world. He saw what happened to superheroes in the film Civil War when recruitment and bringing them in and registering them was a punishment and a way to imprison them. So when this more pessimistic friend tries to thwart a senator who had found out about mutants and was going to expose them to the world, he tries to kill him by crushing his car with his brain. Bending the metal, if you will. The other friend, the optimist, tries to stop him using his telekinesis. The pessimist metal bender tries to kill his friend, but only injures him, paralyzing him from the legs down. Fast forward 5 years later, the optimist, Charles Xavier, has opened his school for mutants. He's begun recruiting them to his school, teaching them the way that they can live and interact and help society. The pessimist, Magneto, is out hunting mutants to recruit them to his side to take over the world as he believes they rightly deserve. So you have the basis there for, your traditional Charles and Magneto and their friendship, and it's sort of a newer version on how to bring them to the world. And essentially, the story is them, again, 5 to 7 years after the snap. They're recruiting mutants to their own cause, and they both reconvene when they try to track down an elusive mutant with unbelievable powers by the name of Logan. So there is my pitch for the story.
Dude, I love that. And you've kept it so simple. I know you just finished Lost. I'm getting major Man in Black, Jacob.
Okay,
vibes.
cool. Yeah, well, yeah, it's definitely both sides of the spectrum, and both have the merits to their points, but they just have a different way of going about what should be done with these new mutants and everything like that. So
that's really cool. I do like that because it also gives that sort of ability for like a Marvel, for like the writers at Marvel Studios to kind of build that into something that is more modern, is more realistic. Bad guys aren't just bad, and good guys aren't just good. Like I do really dig that.
Right,
Very
and,
cool.
and it's just, that's the best way I could think of to sort of have these mutants be around, but not the whole time, and to also fit into the current story, and just, it's how you integrate them without asking, well, where have they been all this time? So that was kind of my main focus on trying to integrate the story into something that's already 22 movies long. Okay, so for Professor X, I didn't want to go super old, because I don't think these characters have to be older. I think, obviously, because the gene is just dormant in you, you could be any age when the snap happened and you were awoken. And that lets them find mutants of varying ages throughout all the stories they end up telling. For Professor X, I went with Mark Strong. I know he usually plays the bad guy in a lot of things. So Mark Strong would be like the bad guy from Kick-Ass, but he's also the lovable sidekick in The Kingsman. So I think he could bring that charm and, a sense of demeanor and intelligence.
He's already got the haircut.
Well, I was looking for somebody who would look good bald, and a naturally bald person just, McAvoy always looked a bit weird with the bald head. And then, so for his friend, I wanted somebody of a similar age because they would have grown up together. So I went with somebody who I just think reeks of being a dickhead in real life. I went with Sean Penn.
Wow.
So I thought he'd be a cool Magneto, a good thwart for Mark Strong. And now you're really getting some name power into the franchise. Because I think the most amazing thing about Marvel is that you can't laugh at anybody being included. Because look at the, names that they've gotten to do these movies at this point, right? So I don't think anybody's off limits as long as the script and story and character are good. And then, so working alongside Professor X would be Beast. So I wanted to sort of bring a bit of nerdy but sort of quirky charm. So I went with Richard Iota. So he is most notably known from the IT Crowd.
Yeah.
I just thought he looks great in glasses. He'd be really fun and quirky. And again, I don't think you have to be like a big guy to play Beast because he sort of gets transformed into that, right?
Right.
And so you might never actually see him as a human, but I just think he'd bring like a fun, sort of quirky personality to it.
Sort of the Professor Beast idea.
Exactly.
I do really like the that aspect for that actor because he's so unexpected. And I think who was it that we were talking about that is on? It's on from Silicon Valley that's going to be in that new Marvel movie in the Eternals.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I can't think of his name right now.
Kumail Nanjiani.
That's the one. Yeah,
he looks unbelievable. So imagine if Richard got the guy that trained him to
right?
come on.
And so, like, I'm not sure. I'm not too familiar with Beast in terms of because I know in the most recent movies of the X-Men, he created a serum so he could go back to human and stuff. I'm not sure if that's like a common story with the character, but so then you could really see a transformation and he goes to almost being like almost a smaller, nerdier guy into this big beast whenever he needed it, not like Hulk, but kind of like Hulk.
Right.
So Beast would be working alongside him, as would Storm. I've got Storm being played by Keke Palmer. I know her most from Scream Queens. I just think she's got that really tough, badass look that I think is always associated with Storm.
Cool.
So, and I went kind of true in terms of the look to the more traditional comic books and cartoons and everything character.
Yeah.
And then they've also got young, arrogant, but do-gooder Ansel Elgort as Cyclops.
Oh, I can totally see that.
I just don't like him, and Cyclops is almost kind of that like unlikable, likable guy or whatever, right? At least like the way James Marsden played him, right, where he's like that goody two shoe wiener, right? So Ansel just screams that to me,
and I think that would pull him. Was he in the Fantastic Four? No, he wasn't. Never mind.
No, I think that was Miles, right?
Right, yeah.
Who I actually considered for a couple roles, but no. And then you have his girlfriend, Jean Grey, who would be played by Jane Levy. She was in the remake of Evil Dead. She was in Shameless. She's a redhead, or looks good as a redhead, so I just thought she'd be great. And I've seen a few pictures that just scream, that serious, troubled, but also very sweet and likable. She's sort of that torn character.
That's so cool.
As Rogue, I've got Julia Garner. She plays the daughter in Ozark. She could play like a cool, bratty, she's the young pup of the group that's, maybe getting into trouble and they're always trying to look out for her.
She can do that accent. Like I know Rogue sometimes has an accent in some of the iterations, so that would be really cool.
Absolutely. And then again, I think my answer for Wolverine is obvious because I've talked about it before, but I'm not straying from it. Zac Efron all day, baby.
Wow.
There's nobody in Hollywood who's got the physique that he's got and the acting chops, and I think he could pull off serious but also bring some sort of fun, smart alecky. He's a younger take on it. Listen, nobody thought Hugh Jackman could do it. It's not like
Yeah.
he was known for being a tough guy before he did Wolverine. And I just think taking those rage scenes from like Neighbors where he's like beating the crap out of Seth Rogen, like if you just Google Zac Efron Wolverine, the fan art that people have done, he is just perfect for the role in my opinion.
really is.
So
Wow, yeah.
So I'll never stray from that. I'll be disappointed with whoever they do end up casting if it's not him.
Dude. That is
so again,
fantastic.
I don't know if Magneto would have some henchmen that he's already recruited, but I wanted to sort of keep the cast list a little smaller, so I didn't go into, some of. I guess I could have done a Mystique, but anyways, that's my starting cast list, because I think that you run into trouble if you have too many people that you're introducing in the first movie.
Right. No, that's awesome. That's really cool. I like the idea that you mentioned of like the snap activates it, so their ages can be all different. And I think that really opens up, because for me, like, I did not even consider that. So like I was like, okay, this person would be really great, but they're a little young, and I think that's really cool that you have the opportunity to go really different with it. That's fantastic. Cool. Okay, well listen, let's I'll move into mine. I'm gonna give my cast first, because I would love for you guys to sort of see them as I'm sort of giving my pitch, so you can kind of see the actors in there. So let's start with my team here. So starting with it's almost like I went in alphabetical order here, but I didn't mean to. Angel. For Angel, I chose Billy Magnuson. Billy Magnuson, of course, you'll know from I think the most recent thing he was in Aladdin. Do you guys know?
Oh yeah, I like him. Yeah.
Right? He's got the hair. He's got the
he usually plays like the goofy, almost dumb guy, right?
Are they making a spin-off of his character from Aladdin?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
we
he was
about that.
He was great in Game Night.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really cool to kind of see him portray maybe someone a little bit darker, because I know Angel with his
He's
dad.
very troubled and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, right? But troubled rich kid, like I think it's right up his alley. So I went with Billy Magnuson. For Beast, I went with Tom Hardy. Now, I know Tom Hardy is a really big choice for, falling in. Like, I know he came from the DC side and he's done that stuff, but I totally think he would work as Beast, and I think he could do a really cool job. I know a lot of people want him for Wolverine, but I just think he would be really interesting to see him play sort of that intellectual, but also has the ability to go rough and heavy with it, right? So I think
for
that'd
sure.
be really cool.
My only concern is he not in some ways kind of in the MCU already?
I agree. Yeah, you're right.
That's my only concern with him, because that stunted me from picking a few characters.
Yeah,
how is he in the
MCU again?
Well, because he's Venom. So if they ever do go ahead and make that crossover,
I don't even want that to happen. So in my future,
otherwise, I think it's an awesome choice for the character. That brings a lot of punch to what is a secondary character. So that's a strong cast.
Cool beans. For Cyclops, and I know I've got pretty much a lot of dudes here so far, but Alden Ehrenreich. Alden Ehrenreich, Han Solo himself.
Cool.
As Cyclops. I think
you're going to make Cyclops likable. Damn you.
Yes, 100%. But I still want him to be a jerk. I still want him to be very, his own
cocksure
and self-obsessed.
Yeah.
That sort of thing would be really fun. And I think Alden could even take it even a little bit more goofy, because I know in the X-Men 2000 movie, like he was just, that was such a 2000 style version of Cyclops. I think that would be really fun to sort of modernize him in a goofy sense. But Iceman, we've got Iceman on the team, and he is played by Dacre Montgomery from the most recent Stranger Things. Just look at this hunk of beautifulness here. This guy, I almost considered him for someone like Pyro, but because he's just so hot. But Iceman, Dacre Montgomery, I think would be really, really cool, and I think he could almost swap roles with Cyclops in the sense that maybe he would be more of the Cyclops traditional persona, and then Alden Ehrenreich Cyclops can be like very goofy. I don't know. I think that would be kind of neat. And then we've got Jean Grey, who in my version I'm calling Marvel Girl, and she will be played by Yvonne Strahovski. Yvonne Strahovski, who you'll know from like Dexter, Chuck. She's normally blonde, but I think she could pull off a redhead.
I don't know how to spell any of those names.
Yvonne Strahovski. You could just do like an IMDb for Chuck or for, and you'll see her there, or Dexter, and she's also in The Handmaid's Tale, and she's such a phenomenally underrated actor. And she's usually in a lot of TV stuff. So I think how cool would it be to get her into the MCU? But yeah, that would be my Jean Grey.
Cool.
Now, for my Xavier, we've talked about him already on the podcast. I went with Jeffrey Wright. I just think he's a really,
interesting.
He would be like a fresh take, and I don't know what he would look like bald, but does Xavier have to be bald?
What do you mean? He's bald. Isn't he bald in Westworld?
Oh, yeah, I guess he's got like a little bit of hair on the side. Okay, cool. Well, there you go. He works bald.
Yeah, that's
it
good.
works well on him. Yeah, it's his look.
But yeah, I just think he would be super cool, and he could play somebody really smart and kind of neat that way.
Yeah,
now,
I like it.
Magneto, Kevin, I kind of did this one for you a little bit. I thought, how cool would it be to get Charles Dance as a very original Marvel character style Magneto, right? You got
that'd
your
be great.
Game of Thrones Charles Dance, Mr. Lannister himself. Like, he's got such a presence on screen, and I think he'd be so menacing, but also a little more, even more reserved. And I mean, how can you get more reserved than the original? But I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, there's so many tough shoes to fill, just in like nostalgia and everything like that. He would step into that role really well. I like that casting a lot.
Cool. I've got four more really quick. President Robert Kelly would be played by Billy Crudup. Billy Crudup from, I think most recently we've seen him in The Morning Show. And he is just a phenomenal, he's just like really good at being a bad guy. And I think he would
smarmy and sleazy. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Super cool. William Stryker, Reverend William Stryker in my version, will be played by, believe it or not, hopefully he's still with us, Tom Hanks.
Wow.
Right?
Okay. Now, you know how I said nobody was untouchable?
You don't think we could get Tom Hanks in this MCU?
To play a bad guy, especially. Jeez.
Right? How cool would that be? To play a reverend who is someone that, you can see him being very likable because he's a reverend, but then to be on that back end and be a really horrible human being. I just want to see Tom Hanks take on a role like that. I think it would be super dynamic, and I think he's got the chops for it. I mean, I want to go into a movie and not like Tom Hanks because he's just too damn likable. Wow. And then I've got, just really quickly, Bolivar Trask is played by Idris Elba.
Who?
Idris Elba will play Bolivar Trask. Trask is the guy that comes up with Sentinels.
Right, okay.
So I think he just fits that military persona. I wouldn't have him in the movie for too long.
Damn, you're jamming so many X-Men stories into this one movie, eh?
Wait till you hear my pitch, okay? You're gonna like, everyone's gonna hate it. Lastly, but not leastly, X-23 will be played by both Daphne Keane, we're gonna bring her over, and Haley Steinfeld. All right, so with that cast, hopefully you guys like it. Hopefully I think the MCU can afford it, and I think it would be really cool to get those big names.
It was such a huge cast and so many big names. Yeah.
Dude, so many big names, so many fantastic people, so many amazing actors. Here we go. My pitch for this MCU version of X-Men. This movie appears as a standalone X-Men movie in its marketing. You watch it, you know that, based off the backstory, we all watch and keep up with the news. Marvel acquired X-Men and they get this and they do that or whatever. But this movie, you're like, okay, but how does this tie into MCU? I don't even understand. The trailer doesn't look at all like MCU. It starts in 1963. And in fact, most of the movie takes place in 1963. Our original X-Men team are already established. So I'm talking the original 5 X-Men: Angel, Beast, Cyclops, Iceman, Jean Grey, of course, led by Xavier. And they are already established, and they're facing all of their greatest threats all at once. President Kelly has now successfully passed the necessary bills to call for the eradication of the mutant gene. He has partnered with Reverend William Stryker and military tech mogul Bolivar Trask, and they have initiated a countrywide hunt for anyone who has, in their words, contracted the mutant virus. Trying to bring in some of the stuff that's going on now, right? And we got them, it's a little bit of people, they're telling people, like, stay away from mutants and wear masks and all this stuff. So we're bringing in some of our current day stuff into there. Magneto has lost all sense of empathy and has now initiated a full-scale assault on the United States. Our team hears that he's that leading his army is a rather young mutant discovered in Canada. He calls it his Weapon X. Now, throughout the movie, our team discovers Weapon X to be a very little girl and a clone of a mutant that Xavier had been tracking for quite some time now. Throughout the movie, they manage to find Laura, and they realize that her actions throughout the film have never been her own. She is literally physically being controlled by Magneto. His powers have grown so strong that at this point he can control the metal inside of her body symbiotically, to the point where he is literally controlling her. And he's using her and her ability that she essentially can't die, for the most part, her healing factor, as a way to really just infiltrate, because she's so unexpected. Nobody expects this little girl to be able to do what she can do. And so she never wants to actually do it. She's always upset about it, but she can't help it. Anyways, the movie comes to its climax, and it seems as though our heroes have lost. Magneto has taken over, and the Sentinels have taken over, and boom, people start getting dusted. First Xavier, followed by Beast, then Jean Grey, and everyone around Laura starts disappearing. Then she gets dusted as well. What happens is, the problem is due to the events that occur in Endgame, as well as the events from the upcoming Loki series, our heroes are brought to different times and an alternate universe, which is our MCU, our current MCU. So our X-Men team have all been brought to the year 2025, which is post-Endgame, and Laura is brought to the year 2011 in the same universe. So again, we're going really crazy with this timey-wimey stuff. Due to the shifts in the timeline caused by our heroes both in Endgame and, of course, Loki jumping around, mutants have basically started when the experiments happened with Captain America, followed by Scarlet Witch and the fast one. Quicksilver, thank you. And so, I think it would be really cool near the end of that movie to, due to the shifts in our timelines, our heroes will go from a time where people are being condemned to a time where for the most part, they're celebrated for saving the world. And I think it would be a really awesome shift in dynamic to see how they would cope with the differences between a very anti-mutant 1960s and a modern-day specialized human celebrated world with the Avengers. Anyways, at the end of the movie, credit stinger for the next X-Men movie after this, Xavier is seen in a very, archaic version of the helmet that he wears to track down mutants, and he's looking for Logan. He's still looking for him because he knows that he's probably still around somewhere. But now he discovers a 25-year-old Laura, played by Haley Steinfeld, still within reach. The movie is called The Uncanny X-Men, and it's directed by the Russo brothers.
Cop out.
Cop out. Listen, name another group of directors that have been able to take this many people and all this sort of timey-wimey stuff and actually pull it off. I think they're the only ones that could.
Sure.
I think they're the only ones that could.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a huge task.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think?
I'm a little confused by things.
It's cool. I'm a little confused by the timeline because they got dusted in the 60s, but then
they show up
forward.
In 20, yeah. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's the snap was only the sort of the cataclysmic event that triggered, basically where they ended up, but the actual timelines were affected again by Loki and all those people. So essentially, by the time they get snapped into existence in this new current time, again, it's a normal thing. They're not, the mutant gene. I don't think they're ever going to call them mutants. I think if they do want to separate themselves from the old X-Men stuff, they might go with just specialized human. And they might stick with that, because I know that's kind of what they call them already, right? So, as soon as they're snapped into existence, even if there were shifts, and even if they've technically always been there, but not to them, I don't know. I think they could do it. I think they could pull it off.
I think one of the toughest things about starting to do multiverses and stuff is going to making it easy enough for the layman, the general, just movie viewing fan to follow what the heck's going on.
Right.
Because I'm still confused, but I like a lot of the elements from it, but I am still very much confused about how it all would work and stuff.
Right.
Because the snap wouldn't make them come from a different dimension.
Or would it?
But the whole purpose of it was to cause the dusting, not crossing over through. So I find it very confusing. But maybe in 2.5 hours of storytelling, you could make it a bit more palatable.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But again,
Very interesting.
really like the cast and some
the
very
cast is
cool
good.
elements for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Justin, let's go ahead and hear your version of X People.
Well, yeah, X People. Like after rewatching at least the first one, and the second one, those are probably like my two favorite X-Men movies, other than Days of Future Past. But like looking at the two trilogies as a whole, like they've done such a good job. Like I think outside of Marvel MCU, like other studios handling properties, X-Men has been handled actually fairly well. Other than obviously X3 with a little bit of a slip up there, and even Wolverine Origins to a certain degree.
And Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix.
Apocalypse was okay. Dark Phoenix was bad. Yeah, it was bad. But I think Apocalypse could have been a lot better. But I think the reality is though is that they've a lot has already been done with these characters in the movie capacity, which is why it should be a Disney Plus show. Probably a 10-part series that would introduce the X-Men in a new way, but you'd still have some heavy hitters as the cast. Now, I haven't really formulated a pitch or a storyline that would go with it, but I don't think a movie is the way that they should be introduced. I think the best way to introduce them is to highlight individual characters and individual outside properties. For example, showing Storm in Wakanda, right? As like a teaser of some sort.
Wow,
there.
yeah.
Having someone like Xavier show up in either the multiverse where Strange meets him, or somewhere in WandaVision. You could also have Magneto featured in that one as well. I think the proper way to start introducing the mutants into the MCU is to kind of seed them into other properties, to kind of hint at them, leading to something more. It doesn't justify or explain where they've been, and I think that's going to be the tricky part for writers, is to figure out how are they going to tell that story. I think both of you've actually hit it with like tying in like the snap while also tying in like some sort of element of time, which is kind of how I envision the show. Again, story's not very full-fledged, but I think that the idea is that it should be episodic and not a movie. So I think that's the core element, what I would get at. I would like to see someone like Jason Bateman. We've mentioned, he's done Ozarks. He did The Outsiders. He has a very formulaic way of how he tells his stories and what needs to be seen. I think him as a director and the way he uses the camera as well, like something with a little bit more grit and a little bit more real would be really great for the X-Men, because that's what I really appreciated about at least the first one. Is that the first movie felt like a pilot movie for, it didn't have the dolled up Hollywood sort of aesthetic to it.
Well, I think to that point, like, and I know it's the darkest moment, but I think it's one of the best moments of that movie is the very beginning with young Magneto. Yep. Really showing what he went through as a kid and going through the whole situation with the Holocaust. Like, I think to be able to take these dark themes that we've sort of seen in a light way and do them heavier, I love that. And I think, yeah, you're right. Jason Bateman would be dope at that.
So yeah, I think those are like highlight things. Now getting into the cast, I've picked a dream cast, and in some characters, it's really up to like if you go young or old. It does depend, right?
Yeah.
So in some cases, I have a character that there might be two people. It depends on how you take it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because each of these characters are usually represented differently, and who knows, you could have them both. For Xavier, I went with Ewan McGregor.
Hello there.
Obi-Wan. Good old Obi-Wan, I thought would be great.
That's fantastic.
Now his counter, you guys are gonna love this one. His counter as Magneto, like his opposing, would be Liam Neeson.
Oh. That's kind of cool.
You're just playing
That's
to
a
the
cool
fandom
twist.
here, bud. You're literally like.
So you'd have
what
Liam
do Marvel
Neeson.
fans also like? Star Wars.
I do like
Okay.
I do like the casting though that I've heard online with Jason Isaac as being casted as a Magneto.
I could see that too.
I do imagine my story being focused on Phoenix, like the series, like the series having a very heavy focus on Phoenix, and I did cast pretty typical for this. I chose Evan Rachel Wood. I think she would be great because I want to see her go to the Dark Phoenix side. I do think that that's where I'd like the series to kind of lead into, like tell the proper story of how that power just cannot be contained.
That's
Cyclops,
cool.
I chose Armie Hammer.
Ooh.
Nice.
I think Armie Hammer, I think would be great. He has the cockiness to him. He has also the sort of gusto of being like right. You know what I mean? He could be that leader.
Yeah, if he plays like one of the Winklevoss twins for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, one of the Winklevoss twins for sure. That's who I was imagining. For Mystique, Rooney Mara for Mystique. I think she would be really, really good. It's funny, I couldn't figure out, like I did stick to the core characters that were in the first movie just because I thought they were essential. This character was supposed to be in it, but they X'd him, no pun intended, because of CGI and like makeup and stuff. It would just cost so much, and the studio did not want to put a lot of money behind the first X-Men movie, and that was Beast. So Beast would be in my version. Now Beast is one of those characters where you could either go old or you could go young. So if you went young, I would say Miles Teller.
Hey, yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, right. I thought that was a good one. But if you go old, I was thinking Joel Edgerton.
Oh yeah, I actually had Joel Edgerton up there for like a Sabretooth, but dude, I could totally see him as Beast as well.
For sure.
I would
sick.
personally like if you did want to include another female villain. I did like Psylocke. I think she was interesting. She also ends up kind of becoming part of the X-Men, so it would be cool to have someone where we were introduced to them as a bad guy, and then maybe towards as we move into season 2, they've starting to transition to becoming part of the Xavier's team. That would be
cool.
Psylocke, and I would honestly keep Olivia Munn as that character because
Really?
it wasn't she wasn't really fully realized.
Now, Olivia Munn, the only thing I would be worried is like I haven't seen her act in too much, but how do you find her acting? Like, do you think that she would have the chops to kind of, especially you've got Evan Rachel Wood, you've got some of these other high end actors in here.
She can hold her own. I feel like
Check her out in Newsroom. She's really good in that one.
Okay.
Didn't know she was in that one. Interesting. I picked two people from the Ozarks cast. The first for Rogue was actually Sophia Hublitz, which is actually Charlotte. She plays Charlotte. I thought she looked more like Rogue, whereas I was thinking she could if she dyed her hair black and she had the strand. Yeah.
Oh, I could see either of them, yeah.
Yeah, and she'd be young, right? Like I think Rogue would be the one that just joined the X-Men. You know what I mean? Like you still play off that story. And you know who that is, Kev? You know who that is, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's actually who I had meant to put down as Rogue.
Oh, I thought you put down the other girl.
I did, yeah. I was completely off on that one. Yeah, no. I got bad information on that one. Yeah, no, that's exactly who I meant for Rogue, so that's funny.
Oh, yeah, because you said the daughter from Ozark, and I was like, well, she is a daughter.
Oh, a daughter, but I was totally wrong on that one, yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, honestly, I think either one of them would be fantastic
Well,
for
that's
it.
it.
No,
They-
I think Hublitz is way better
she
choice
has the
than
look.
Garner.
She has the look for
Yeah,
it, and she's young.
Exactly.
She's young, and I
That's
think
who
that
I
character
thought,
has
yeah.
to be young. Has to be super
Yeah.
young as well, because she'll inevitably become more important. For Toad, I picked Charlie Tahan. He's also from Ozarks. He's actually
Well, he's her cousin.
That is awesome.
I thought he'd be cool. Again, another because Quicksilver already exists. I was gonna throw Quicksilver in here, but then and he would have been the cast. But I was like, oh no, wait, he's already existed in the MCU.
Quicksilver's
so
gone.
Yeah.
So Toad would be in there as well, part of Magneto's crew. And then for Sabretooth, I chose Alexander Ludwig. He's a Canadian actor who stars in the Viking show that's on the History Channel, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Put a lot of hair on him. He's good to go.
You just get a bunch of hair. Actually, looking at him in the Vikings thing, you just got to literally make his hair long, and you've got it. You got Sabretooth. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then, of course, this all started with Storm, the casting for Storm. I don't mind Janelle Monáe as Storm. I think that's actually a really good, it would be really great. She's young. She would bring something fresh to that role. But I also thought, Cynthia Erivo would be pretty good as well.
Oh, wow.
I thought she would be dope as well.
I'm looking at her Oscars photos, and she's got that platinum white, very short hair, and I'm like,
she
just
could
do
keep
that.
She could just keep
do
that. That's what I mean,
That would look
right?
so
Like
cool.
she could just keep that, and it would really give a fresh new look to Storm, which I think could
That's
be very,
so
very
cool.
good. Wolverine, this one, he's obviously very integral to the MCU, but I feel like he'd still be that lone wolf, that one that just doesn't want to join. Right, but he still wants to do what's right and what's good. And I had young and old, Taron Egerton, and then if you wanted to go old, for the body shape, I think Daniel Craig would be fantastic.
Wow, as a Wolverine?
As an older Wolverine.
That is a very old Wolverine. He's older than Hugh Jackman.
But he doesn't look
I
like it.
do like the idea though of Scott Caan potentially being Wolverine. I've been reading online. He'd be great.
He's such a little wiener.
But but I like the idea of a stockier Wolverine versus a tall, lean. That's why Zac Efron actually would be pretty good, because he is a little shorter.
And you can make anybody as short as you want.
Sure.
Can I interject really quick with my Wolverine? Would that be okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, John Bernthal, but of course, Punisher. So he's off the menu. But I think he's just, if he wasn't going to be Punisher, I think he'd be fantastic. But I was thinking, and I wanted to match the look, and Richard Armitage from I think the most recent thing, The Hobbit. Do you guys know who this is?
Yeah.
Look this guy up.
Yeah.
I think he, not only does he maybe the problem is maybe he looks too much like Hugh Jackman. But
he plays one of the dwarfs, right?
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
Right? And if he's already short in that, I would love to see a shorter Canadian.
I just want that traditional look to Wolverine, right?
The yellow suit.
No, I don't need the yellow
No?
suit. That I just mean that stockier sort of
Sure.
shorter sort of.
But Scott Caan isn't short and stocky.
No, but he has about a bit he's short. He's definitely short. Especially when you stand next to Casey Affleck. When they would stand next to each other, he always was shorter than him. But I think if he was really committed to the role, most of these people that when they take on these superhero roles, they get super committed and they cut like crazy and they work out and they become super committed to their thing. He could pull it off, right? And it would be an interesting sort of thing to take for a character like that, especially a character that's so is revered. Who is going to replace Hugh Jackman, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe you just go out of left field and you just choose someone that's known but not incredibly well. Down the road, as my Disney Plus series would begin to unfold, other people would show up, and I would love to see these last 3 characters that I've casted. Mr. Sinister. We need a Mr. Sinister. We need to see Mr. Sinister and have him in this. And that would be Eddie Redmayne. He would look incredible as Mr. Sinister. And then I'd like to have maybe an episode or a short part series of episodes with Cable and Bishop, and that would be featured with Brad Pitt and Jamie Foxx. As
So they've just got all the money, I guess, is what we're all trying to say.
Well, again, I think Brad Pitt and Jamie Foxx would be dope as a Cable and Bishop tag team, sort of from the future. Wow. Sort of thing. So, I didn't cast the typical, like Senator Kelly would obviously be someone that would be very, important to that striker as well.
Right.
I think those characters, you can cast them however, but in terms of like the core mutants that I was thinking of and people that I'd like to see, this is my cast. So
I like it.
Nice.
That's
really cool. Do you have directors lined up or?
Jason Bateman would be.
Oh right, Jason Bateman, kind of the showrunner.
I would be he would be the showrunner. I'd like to see him at least do because he has a really good knack for building the tone. Like he did that with Ozarks. He started I think 3 or 4 episodes into Ozarks. Same with Outsiders. I think he did 1 or 2 with that one, and he really helped establish the tone. And then everyone just kind of followed suit after that. And I think that would be his kind of setup. And I would trust him with because I think he has his own production company, or he's part of a production company, but I think I would trust him to bring on the right talent. Who it could be written by, it'd be great if Lindelof wanted to come in and write this, but because I think the other thing too, to kind of help tell the story of current and past, would be some sort of shift in time. I just got off the Lost train, so I'm gonna say it would be present and past sort of mentality. And with this idea of Xavier and his ability with his reading minds and seeing things him, if they could play with some stuff like that where he's reliving moments, and reliving other people's moments in their past to understand them more, because he's diving into their subconscious and he's diving into their minds, right? Because he ends up being very powerful. And I think for even Jean Grey, because she is such a integral character in terms of her power, she is in many ways more powerful than Xavier. Unlocking that story in a real traditional way would be interesting.
Well, guys, I think if they found a way to clear up my timeline stuff, but I think we could take a little bit of all 3 of our pitches and sort of pepper them together in different ways. Justin, I love the idea of a TV show. I mean, we literally were just talking about the aspect of how much more you can flesh out characters in a TV show as opposed to,
and it doesn't mean
single movies.
And by putting them in a TV show doesn't mean that they wouldn't show up in some sort of Avengers movie in some capacity, or characters wouldn't show up. It's just maybe a way now for them to tell their own story with this new platform, rather than having to try to put out another X-Men movie, because they're as we've talked about, they've been done so many times, right?
Sure.
Well, that would be my only concern with your pitch, is that you went very familiar with the first one and the same cast of characters and everything like that. I want them to avoid that like the plague.
Sure.
I want there to be no similarities to any of those other movies.
But I'm sure there won't be any. If the cast itself draws similarities, then I think they should just tell a whole other story of X-Men that doesn't have Wolverine, Magneto, Xavier, and that sort of stuff.
Well, you want those characters. You need your familiar faces. I just don't want it to be with Senator Kelly and all these things.
But Senator Kelly doesn't need to be a prominent sort of thing. Again, he could be just a figure that is hinted at. Right. Again, it's not about every episode or they're involved in every episode. It's there's other things that are in play. There is a William Stryker out there. There is going to be that. But I think, again, just the core Brotherhood and X-Men, really keeping it simple and very, focused on just that. And then, taking it season 2 and more seasons where it would just evolve. Granted, obviously, if you do have a star-studded cast like this, you'll be paying lots of dollars.
But it's Disney, man. They got it. They don't even worry about it, man. And the idea of
There's no way they're buying Brad Pitt for a Disney Plus show.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, they could figure it out. And
it depends on how many roles, how many episodes he's in.
Right, and to that point, like, get him in the show and then use that as your catalyst to get him into the movie. Marvel does it right. DC can't do that. Marvel can.
Well, see, like, the other thing too
well,
is,
the last time they launched 4 separate TV shows, they didn't get any of those into any of their movies
with Netflix.
Fair,
right?
But they, fair.
This is Disney Plus. They own everything. They own everything. Fair. Just let Disney own everything.
I would just be concerned with a real gritty tone because it wouldn't fit into the MCU.
Sure.
I'd be concerned about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because we've seen directors have issues trying to put too much of their own stamp on something and it not fitting into the grand scheme. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
If it was a standalone project,
I
think that would be very cool. I just can't see that something like that ever fitting into the
MCU.
I
you know what? And honestly, I don't think though. Like, if we're going to be real about actually recasting it, as great as it would be for any of our great people that we've listed here, it's probably going to be a majority of nobodies for a majority of the roles, other than probably like your Xavier and your Magneto and potentially your Wolverine, right? Like, I think it's going to be some fairly unknown people that are going to put their own stamp on these characters and not be tied to potentially like the existing.
I mean, yes and no. I could see, for sure. It's not like the MCU people were nobodies, right? Like,
no, sure.
Paul Rudd was well known, and even to a lesser extent in the same movie, you have Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer, and like they're known for bringing in people who aren't just absolute nobodies in a lot of roles, and so I think it'll definitely be a blend of people you know and people you don't, for sure.
Yeah. I also think, though, that, like, to your point, Kevin, explaining where have they been, right? Like, that's going to be the real challenge, is to understand, like, do you connect it back to something like the Snap? Or is it something that, they've always been in the shadows and dealing with it, right? Because, like, when X-Men 1 story picks up, the government is catching on to this ongoing mutant issue in their society, right? Which is why that's the point of because before that, no one really knew about it, but people just kind of were like, oh, there's something off about this person, right? But now there was like a definitive definition and a senator and a government person that was at the forefront of it, right? Like, what I mean?
I just wonder how, like, Hydra and Shield missed these mutants when they've basically been on the hunt for superheroes since the 40s.
Which is why I think it would be the only way they could go would be alternate universe and find a way to tie that in. I mean, again, the Snap was only, the aspect of all 5 of the stones, or 6 of the stones. But, there was a stone, and it's the one that Loki uses to travel throughout, different time zones and potentially different dimensions, right? Like, again, they have the ability to sort of massage these powers in a way that would work to kind of bring these characters in and just say, well, because of this, this, and this, they've always been here. We don't have to see them.
Again, it's a head scratcher for whoever's going to pick up the pen and start writing that outline, because that's going to be a tricky thing.
But Justin, that is why we did the hard work for them. So Disney, Marvel, if you are listening, listen, we've already got all your stories written. We've got all your movies casted. Just do what we say, all right? But guys, this was a fantastic tots. I had a lot of fun chatting about it. We could talk about the X-Men for a million years because it's such a diverse, massive cast of characters. All right, so before we kind of move into our wrap-up, though, Kevin, you're going to be hosting next week. What do our Geekcentric peeps need to be tuning into? What do they need to be excited about?
Well, I know I can be quite the negative Nancy and
really?
and a little bit opinionated.
Not at all.
I will admit, though, I do find myself struggling more and more to walk on eggshells as to not upset anybody if I disagree with their thoughts or opinions. So I thought, to avoid that altogether, I'm going to pit you two against each other in our one matchup of movie combat that we haven't quite got to yet. So, and I'm going to keep it a secret for the audience until we get there next week. But yes, you will hear Justin and Nate who will have ample time to prepare, square off. So this might be the friendliest movie combat we've had so far.
It's just going to be a lot of me apologizing and crying, and Justin just sort of being really quiet.
There we go.
But no, dude, I'm stoked. Justin, I don't think we've done a movie combat yet, have we?
No.
You and
we
me
have not.
Nope, this is our one matchup that we haven't done yet. So
Justin,
it's damn time.
Very cool. All I'm going to say, Justin, is make sure you have notes, because I will. All right, well, Justin, was there anything for that you wanted to plug going on the YouTube channel, maybe that people can look forward to?
Yeah, we're working on a video that we're going to be posting sometime this coming week. It is actually a gift that has been sent to us from a fellow toy company. So
very cool.
Yeah, it's going to be on the channel probably before next Friday at some point. So yeah, it's just been such a busy week trying to get everything
and then
done.
I promise there's a Kev at Home coming soon. I swear.
Oh yeah, there's one of those too. Yeah.
Very good. I'm looking forward to more Kev at Home. That jingle is just phenomenal. Yeah, and guys, as for me, Nate Plays Games, believe it or not, we are now over 50 followers on Twitch, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so we've almost reached all of the goals that are necessary for me to become an affiliate, which means that people can soon actually subscribe to me, and I can start, actually growing the channel. And I'm not planning on making any money with it, but that's a side effect of a certain number of subs as well. And if you have Amazon Prime, and you haven't used it yet, you actually get gifted every month a free sub. You do have to go in and resub each month, which is really annoying. But if you have Amazon Prime, it's free. Instead of wasting that and not giving anybody your sub, give it to me. I'd really appreciate it, because coming up this Tuesday, the 21st, I don't know if you were listening to this before or after, but Ghost of Tsushima is released tomorrow as of this recording. I will be streaming it on the 21st. I'm so excited. It's a good time to be a gamer. And you can follow along over at Nate Plays Games, twitch.tv/Nate Plays Games. All right. Well, that is it for us here at Geekcentric. We hope that you enjoyed this week's muscle-filled, miraculous marvel of an episode. And if you did, feel free to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. We are Geekcentric, and you can be too, which means you can check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Geekcentric. Follow us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT, and follow us on Instagram. Please follow us over there on the Instagram. We're going to get more stuff on that Instagram, which is at We Are Geekcentric. We also have an Instagram for our Nate Plays Games channel, which is Nate.PlaysGames. If you want to check that out as well. I'm actually posting things there, starting to or trying to. So check out some of the gaming stuff that I got going on over there. Justin, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me for this marvelous episode. And as we say,
hey, bud, uncanny job, pal. Uncanny job.
Oh, there we go. Excelsior. Listen, we're at the end of this podcast. So as we say, love ya.
Stay home safe or wear a mask.
Peace.
I like